All right, question one. We have a bunch of T accounts here, and it wants us to find the missing amounts. There's some missing amounts here. So this is understanding the cost flows through the production process. It does gives us some information. I'm not, just to make the problem easier. It says that all raw materials are direct materials, so we don't have to worry about splitting between direct materials to WIP and indirect materials to manufacturing overhead. It says all items are purchased on account, so we're going to use accounts payable. All wages are booked to wages payable. All sales are made on account, so we'll use accounts receivable for that. So let's scroll down and get to our information. Okay, so the first one is all raw materials are direct materials. Calculate the amount of direct materials used in 2013. So our raw material account, direct materials is credited and debited to WIP. So we move raw materials there. Well, this side is 115,000 available. We have 10 remaining. So that means 105,000 materials were used, and we know all of them were direct materials, so direct materials goes to WIP. So that's 105,000. How much manufacturing overhead was applied to WIP? Well, our manufacturing overhead account, remember the actual is the debit side, and the applied is the credit side. So right there, 45,000 was applied to WIP, so that's the missing amount there, 45,000. What is the ending balance in WIP? Well, we need to add up the actual amounts and subtract the difference and see if we have a debit-credit balance in that account. Okay, so this is, let's see, we have 18,000 and 12 is 30,000. So this side's 36, right? This side's 45. So we have a credit balance of 9,000. When we have a credit balance, it means that our overhead is over applied, because it means we put too much overhead to our products. We allocated too much overhead to our products than what we really had. So the ending balance is a 9,000 credit. Remember, if we're showing our work, we would say the 36,000 debit minus the 45,000 credit is the 9,000 credit. Was it over or under applied? And yes, we just said right there it's over applied, and the amount, of course, is 9,000, not 90,000. All right, and what's the balance in cost of goods sold after closing out manufacturing overhead? So remember, when we get rid of this balance here, we have to move that to cost of goods sold. So maybe I'll switch colors here to show you that. So we want this account to be 0. So we're going to debit cost of goods sold for 9,000, leaving the balance of 0. And we're going to debit, right, debit, credit, and that's going to then leave us a balance of 121. And the rationale behind that is we applied 45,000 of work in process that then went through the cost flows and ends up in cost of goods sold. But it ends up being 9,000 too much, more than we should have. If we'd had perfect knowledge, we'd have only applied 36,000. So now we're going to reduce that by that amount. Now, that's all there is to this problem, but there's certainly many more questions she could ask, like, for example, how much is cost of goods manufactured? Cost of goods manufactured. Well, that's the debit to finished goods, so it means it's the credit to WIP. Well, then my question might be, well, what's the ending balance in our WIP account? Well, let's add this up. That's 130. That's 130 and 45 is 175. 177. So 177 minus 140 is an ending balance of 37. And I don't know, the rest of this stuff isn't very important. The rest of it's not. So those are really the only other two things that could possibly come up. Okay, let's